Hi, I'm Eduardo Villaseñor, Product Manager for the SDK Runtime. Today, we'll share an overview of the Android Privacy Sandbox, starting with the motivation for the effort, followed by deep dives into the core technologies. Privacy increasingly matters. A recent Pew Research Center study suggests 72% of people feel that almost all of what they do online is being tracked by advertisers, technology firms, or other companies. And 81% of people say that the potential risks they face because of data collection outweigh the benefits. Other studies suggest the majority of users don't know how to protect themselves online. People are concerned with what we call cross-site or cross-app tracking. Today, as we navigate our digital lives online, our activities can be tracked across apps and websites and used to build digital profiles. This enables, for example, a company to effectively learn about my activities on different sites or mobile apps. Today, this tracking is commonly enabled through mechanisms like third-party cookies on the web or device identifiers on apps. And while there are ways that we can control some of this tracking, other tracking methods, like fingerprinting, based on device or browser attributes, are opaque and not within our control at all. So the Android Privacy Sandbox is all about answering the question, can we innovate to protect user privacy? And if so, can we continue to enable a thriving, healthy mobile ecosystem? We think the answer is yes. The fundamental thesis of the Android Privacy Sandbox is that protecting user privacy and enabling a healthy mobile ecosystem are not a zero-sum game, and that the path forward is innovation. So today, we'll explore the first 4 areas we are innovating in: the SDK runtime, the Topics API, the Fledge API, and the Attribution Reporting API. And to speak to the SDK runtime, I'll hand it off to Nandana.
Thanks, Eduardo. Hello, I'm Nandana Dutt, Engineering Lead for the SDK runtime, and I'm going to walk you through a proposal for preventing covert tracking. Currently, all third-party SDKs are executed within the context of the app that includes it, that is, the Android Application Sandbox. They inherit the same privileges and permissions of the host app, as well as access to the host app's memory and storage. This increase in code reuse has accelerated a vibrant ecosystem of apps and SDKs. However, this code reuse has other implications that impact users and developers. Users aren't always aware that the permissions granted to the app are also available to any included third-party SDK, and users don't always know what the SDKs do with them. App developers are responsible for everything the SDKs do, including any data that's collected by the SDKs. That's why we are building the SDK runtime to limit the access of SDKs without undermining their benefit to the developer community. SDK runtime leverages Android's application sandboxing to provide better isolation between SDKs and applications across the 2 process boundaries. Third-party SDKs would run in the SDK runtime, providing complete process isolation from the host application with full separation of data, storage, memory, and permissions. This offers the following benefits. 1. The user's data is protected from undisclosed collection by SDK code. 2. SDK distribution can be decoupled from application distribution, and critical SDK updates can be distributed directly. 3. App developers can more confidently declare data usage for their applications. In addition, SDK runtime further restricts the data collection abilities of SDKs. There will be limitations on SDK's access to permission, system services, external storage, ability to load and execute additional code, to communicate with other applications on the device, and to run JNI code. However, SDKs will be able to use the new platform capabilities available via privacy-preserving APIs, Topics and Fledge. Let's look at how to use SDKs in the SDK runtime as an application developer. These APIs are available in our developer previews. However, they are subject to change until finalized. To start out, specify the SDK runtime compliant SDK in the application's manifest. The load SDK call instructs the platform to load the given SDK into the SDK runtime. This should be ideally done just once at application startup. Callback offers a handle for bidirectional communication. Once the SDK is loaded, the application can now communicate with it. SendData provides an expressive API to pass information to the SDK, similar to how intent interactions work. The application can invoke request surface package to allow SDKs to render media on its own views. SDK runtime offers tremendous benefits to user data privacy while sustaining an ecosystem where application developers can thrive. In order to support key use cases in the ecosystem, our proposal includes privacy-preserving APIs that SDKs can use. Let's take a look at these APIs. To begin with, Amit will introduce Topics and Fledge APIs.
Thanks, Nandana. I'm Amit, and next up are solutions to help developers target users with the Topics API. The Topics API is being built for developers who want to deliver ads related to a user's interest, like showing ads related to shoes for someone who's interested in buying shoes. The Topics API provides coarse-grained, non-sensitive interests or topics inferred from a user's usage of their device. By using topics determined on the device, developers do not need to rely on cross-app identifiers or share user data to determine the interests of a user. Developers will be able to include topics from their Topics API in their ads request. The Topics API consists of multiple steps. Apps are mapped to a public list of a few hundred topics, like sports or cooking. On a weekly basis, the device will select a limited number of topics based on the installed apps. We may also include additional topics to noise the response for additional privacy. We will let users view and manage these topics from their device settings. When a developer calls the Topics API, the device will return recent topics. Developers may only get some topics from the API. This will be determined by criteria that prevent the information from being used to re-identify a user across apps. Here's an illustrative example on how calling the Topics API will work. The developer will configure Topics Manager and call getTopics. On getting a successful result, the topics can be included in their ads request. In addition to the Topics API, we've proposed Fledge for Android, two APIs to support interaction-based targeting. These apps are built for developers who want to support use cases including remarketing ads, app install ads, and frequency capping. The Custom Audience API will let developers register a user for an audience group and associate relevant ads with that group. This information is stored locally on the device. And the Ad Selection API will let multiple developers run an auction with these audiences in a private, trusted runtime without sharing them. Let's imagine that an app wants to re-engage with their users that added items to a cart but didn't complete their purchase. After the user adds items to the cart in the app, the developer will call the Custom Audience API to register the user for a group, say, abandoned shopping cart. When registering the user, the developer will include additional information that will help them generate bids in the trusted runtime of the ad selection flow. This information can be updated daily. Other apps will also register the user for custom audiences based on interactions the user has in their apps. When the user is in an app that wants to show an ad, the developer will configure and call the Ad Selection API. The developer can choose who else will participate. The ad selection flow will happen in a private, trusted runtime that has limited permissions to prevent sensitive user information from being shared outside of that environment. Participating custom audience owners or their delegates will run their custom logic to generate bids for ads associated with custom audiences. They can also filter out ads based on factors including how many times the user has seen the ad, or if they already have an app installed on the device. The developer that called the Ad Selection API will then rank these ads with their own custom logic and their own data. The highest ranked ad will be the winning ad and will be shown to the user inside of that app. Now I'll hand it over to John Markoff, who will talk about ads measurement.
Thanks, Amit. Let's talk about measurement. Hi, my name is John Markoff. I'm a Developer Relations Engineering Manager on the Android Privacy Sandbox, and I'm going to walk you through the Attribution Reporting API we recently announced. Today, it's very common to use cross-party identifiers, such as the advertising ID, in measurement solutions. We're building the Attribution Reporting API to remove the reliance on ad ID while providing a solution for both the attribution and conversion measurement across Android and the web. This new API will be useful when you want to measure the performance of an ads campaign that you are either running or serving. This is important because the merchants need to ensure that their ad campaigns are effective. Do tweaks need to be made? Should I spend more money? The Attribution Reporting API aims to answer these questions while providing better user privacy. Let's look at the following example. I'm browsing my morning news through my favorite news app, and I come across an ad for a pair of shoes that I think are really cool. I haven't bought any new shoes in a while, so I decide to click on the ad, which takes me to the merchant's app selling the shoes. The price is right, they have my size in stock, and I decide to purchase the shoes. The current measurement method sends the news app's ad events, the impression and click, and the shoes app's purchase event to AdTech directly. The ad ID links the ad events of both apps on the AdTech server. This means that the current AdTech provider can uniquely identify this transaction and knows that you bought the shoes, how much you paid, and potentially more. Now let's take a look at how the ad impression, click, and conversion is reported using the Attribution Reporting API. In the proposal, the news app would register the ad click with my phone. Additionally, the shoe merchant's app would also register the purchase with my phone. Then the conversion would be attributed to the ad event before leaving the user's device. Additional noise would then be applied to the conversion before being sent to AdTech. The Attribution Reporting API supports two key use cases: event-level reporting for optimizing ad campaigns, and aggregate conversion information. Event-level reporting will provide information about ad events that led to conversions. This is important for building optimization models. The details about conversions are limited and noised to help protect user privacy. Aggregate reporting both aggregates and noises the data to provide higher fidelity information than event-level reports. This allows for conversion measurement without linking every ad and conversion event to a unique device. For example, a merchant may see a daily report of business insights, including the amount of conversions and the amount of money made. The details of this conversion are omitted, so unique identifiers are not revealed. We know this initiative needs input from across the industry in order to succeed. As a starter, if you haven't caught up on the technical proposals for the SDK runtime and the privacy-preserving APIs, please check out the link provided. We've also started a developer preview program that gives you an early look at the SDK, system images, and docs for early assessments and testing. We'll be iterating on it throughout the year. There's also an issues tracker for feedback and questions you may have about the initiative. We are regularly sharing updates of the design and program. Last but not least, please consider signing up for email updates. We've already heard from many partners about their interest in working together to improve ads privacy on Android. We invite more organizations to participate. I'm John Markoff, and thank you for watching.